What's up, dogs? Welcome to SWAT Deeds Talk, episode 3. And it's all about the X-Men. Yeah, because they're the hot topic, but also I like the X-Men. That's why I want to talk about the X-Men.
He loves us. Oh, yeah, big time.
And I didn't wait for 2 years for episode 3, so that's a good thing. So, today's topic is going to be about X-Men, and I can't do this alone, so I bought my own geek man to help me do this job. He is both well versed and outranks me in both knowledge and experience in geekdom, and also gorgeous facial hair. So,
That's
Diz,
beautiful.
welcome to the
Hey,
show.
hey, thank you, Cap. Very nice to be here. A pleasure to be speaking with you and the viewers. So yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's talk some X-Men.
Yeah, I would love if I could add the
That's
animation, but I'm not really sure
that's
if I can
oh,
do that or not yet.
the, make
So,
it just
this
forks. Make it just forks
forks. I
all
think
the
someone
time.
already did a parody about that. So this,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
what was your first introduction to X-Men, and how did it hook you in?
Oh boy. Let's see. I know that as you may know, I'm very old.
Wise, you mean?
And
Wise, you mean?
yeah, no, just old.
I'm old.
Um, And I remember my cousin was staying at my house one time, and we drove our bikes to the local corner market, and there were some comic books there. And we had enough money to each buy one comic book. And I don't remember what I bought, but he bought Giant Size X-Men #1, the one where they introduced all the new X-Men. And we got home, and he didn't like it. And I didn't like the comic that I bought, so we traded. So I have somewhere, I tried to find it the other day in preparation for this, and I couldn't find it, which annoyed me no end. But somewhere I have a copy of Giant Size X-Men #1. And I take very good care of my comic books. And so it might, if my children don't come through, it might help me retire. Um, so after that, I really liked that story. And I liked, there's a big splash page at the end that shows, no, actually, that's in the next comic book. At the end, Cyclops asks, "What are we going to do with 13 X-Men?" And so I thought, I don't know. What are we going to do with 13 X-Men? So I buy the next issue, which is issue number 94, which is Count Nefaria. And there's a huge splash page at the start of that with all the new X-Men and the old X-Men there. And then all the old X-Men go off and leaving just the new X-Men and Cyclops. And from that point, I was hooked. That was the point where I think Chris Claremont began writing it, and the original was by Lynn Wein and Dave Cockrum. That was Giant Size X-Men #1. But then 94 up through like issue 107 or 106 was Chris Claremont and Dave Cockrum, and then John Byrne took over, and then stuff really took off. And so I read it just all through the Byrne and Claremont years. And as soon as Jim Lee came on board, and they had that, they relaunched it with #1, and it was the most popular comic book ever. It really went downhill from there, quite
Oh my
frankly.
God.
And I quit reading it at that point because there were like 8 different X-Men books. You could not keep up with the plots. You could not keep up with the stories. There were so many dangling plot threads that got left behind. But I've kept up with it just sort of tangentially over the years. So I pretty well know the sordid history of them, even through those years that I wasn't reading. So, but that's when
So,
I got hooked, was right when the new X-Men came along.
what was special about the new X-Men? Why did they hook you in more than the old X-Men? I didn't even know there was the new members and old members.
Yeah, so the originals that were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby it was just five. It was Professor X and then 5 kids: Jean Grey, Scott Summers, Warren Worthington, the Angel, Bobby Drake, the Iceman, Hank McCoy, the Beast, and that ran for a long time. But and it started as an allegory for the United States Civil Rights Movement. The X-Men were supposed to represent African Americans. They were They were hunted for who they were, just who they were born as, hated, and even though they loved, they protected the world. So that ran for years, and there were actually some very good books in that run. I've since discovered. I was actually too, as old as I am, I was too young to really be into it at that point. I was a big Spider-Man fan
You
as
were
a
not
kid.
wise yet,
It's
yes.
No, not yet. So I was all about Spider-Man. That's how I actually learned to read, was reading Spider-Man comics. Um, and so Neil Adams was like the last big name artist that they had on the original X-Men run. And towards the end, though, the sales had dropped off so dramatically that they were just reprinting previous issues. And so this whole reboot thing happened, just as a last ditch effort to save the book, and it it worked. It worked pretty well, I think.
And the
Yeah.
new X-Men had Wolverine, right? The one
Yes,
you're not
yes.
reading.
Wolverine had premiered earlier in Hulk 181 as a Canadian special operative that they sent in to take down the Wendigo, and
Oh,
the Hulk just happened to be in the way. So Wolverine and the Hulk got into a fight, and that's a whole. I've got that comic book too somewhere. Um, so that is another retirement piece. Um, so yeah, so then I think the idea with the new giant size X-Men, with the all different X-Men, which is what it said at the top, was to make it an international team,
mm.
because at that point it was all just a bunch of white kids, and literally Warren Worthing, the Angel, was literally a trust fund baby.
Oh
So
yeah,
he was like super rich, and the as close as they got to diversity was the Beast was blue at that point. He had messed with his own genetics and
we
had turned himself
represent
blue.
blue people.
Well, he had messed with his own genetics and turned himself blue and fuzzy, which got him the ladies, in
Oh,
Avengers at least. Yeah.
ooh,
Um, but yeah, he was that. Yeah, there was a whole in the. So the Beast joins the Avengers, which is another great arc, and he and Wonder Man become really good friends, and they go out a lot, and the Beast has a lot of lady friends who just love the fact that he's blue and fuzzy, which also Nightcrawler was blue and fuzzy, so he was fairly popular with the ladies once they got past the tail.
Watch the tail! Now!
I think that the point of the all new, all different X-Men was to make it an international team. You had Wolverine, who was from Canada. You had Sunfire, who was Japanese, although he left almost immediately. There was Storm, who was African. There's Banshee, who's from Ireland. And then, Thunderbird was a Native American, although they killed him off instantly. Spoiler, sorry. They literally killed him off in the next issue, which was annoying because he was a great character. And then Colossus was Russian, and I'm trying to remember who else was on the team. I think that might have been it, but it was, pretty much every continent was represented, or every part of the globe was represented, and that was, I think, a big part of it. Wolverine was not the immediate breakout
hmm.
that you might have thought. He didn't really get really popular until John Byrne came along and started doing the art, and they had the whole. It was part of the Dark Phoenix saga. They were captured by the Hellfire Club, and Leland, whose first name I can't remember, Harry Leland, that was his name, who was sort of a parody of Stan Lee. His power was he was able to control mass. So he makes Wolverine supermassive, drops him through the floor, and leaves him for dead. And Wolverine comes up and he's like, "Now it's my turn." And that one panel, which I think probably everybody's seen, is really what sort of catapulted Wolverine into the public awareness, and made him the badass that he is today.
Which is weird
So
because, like, for me, I grew up in the 2000s. I was born in late 90s. Where the actually I was born in 1997, where the X-Men, famous X-Men 1997, whatever, I can't say years
yeah,
now. 1997 show was launched. I was born in that
yep.
year, but in December, I don't know where at what month the show launched. For us, the introduction to the X-Men, they like even in that show, Wolverine was much more of a important character. They put a lot of
Yes.
emphasis on the tiny yellow tiger-looking dude, and
Yeah.
they immediately know kids are gonna love the cloth, and not really
Yeah.
sure about his facial like costume and everything, and people are gonna love him. And we did as well. And we started actually in Sri Lanka. They used to do the thing where in evenings they would put on like 80 shows, 90
Hmm.
shows. So this is like in 2005 or 6 or 7, probably in some of those years, they started playing the 97 X-Men. I wasn't immediately hooked, but that was my introduction to the X-Men team. I liked Gambit. Didn't really immediately go for Wolverine, but I've seen the movie posters at that time. But again,
Hmm.
my mom didn't allow me to watch those movies yet, so I had to stay off those movies. I wasn't allowed to watch movies for a while, just cartoons. So
Yeah.
I wasn't immediately hooked, but then like in 2008 or 2009, they on TV, and also I got a DVD later as well, X-Men Evolution, which was a
Great
2000
show.
show that
Yeah.
started in the early 2000s. I didn't watch it when it was running, but I saw the rerun and also got a DVD. That one did hook me in, and the
Yeah.
animation was a lot better. It
Yes.
fitted the shows that came in that time period. And the best
Yeah.
thing they did is that they made a lot of the X-Men kids, not
Yep.
adult, and it
Yep.
made me easy to relate to that, and that's how I immediately got hooked. Even
Yeah.
though my favorite character at that time was Wolverine because his costume got a lot better and his
Hmm.
animation was also very different. In the 97 show, he was kind of he wasn't like in a sense like the cool dude. He was still like the scruffy, angry dude, not
Yeah.
the cool dude.
Yeah? And I hope you enjoy your stay in our fair city.
Little troll.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point because when Wolverine first came along, he was just angry. That was his whole shtick, and he was angry and nobody understood him. He was a man of mystery, and he didn't really have any depth um beyond yeah, killing stuff.
And if I had gum, I would have just swallowed it.
They would send him to kill things, but the X-Men don't kill. He's like, well, then why the hell am I here? Um, I think this was before the Dark Phoenix saga. The first time Claremont and Byrne had come on board, and I think this was issue 108 or 109. It's where Alpha Flight comes from Canada and tries to take Wolverine back. Right? He was a product of the Alpha Flight program, and Canada had invested all this money in him, so they wanted him back. So the first that's the first story arc that I remember where they tried to flesh out his character at all. And there was a panel where he's leaving the mansion, and they ask him, well, where are you going? What are you doing? Because nobody knows anything about him. They don't even know his name is Logan. They just call him Wolverine. This actually is, I think, when they found out his name was Logan, because
ah.
because Guardian of Alpha Flight comes and he tries to capture him, and he's talking to him like he knows him, and he calls him Logan. So anyway,
So
so they're at the
what have they
mansion.
been calling him so far? Hey,
Wolverine.
Wolverine. Like
That's
normally,
the
even when he's not in his costume.
Yeah, just Wolverine. Yeah, that's all they've been calling him. So like I say, not a lot of depth at this point. So anyway, so in this arc, he's leaving, and Storm says, where are you going? Where are you going? He says, I'm going back to Canada. I'm going hunting. And she gets all pissed off. Oh, you're going to kill those defenseless animals. How dare you? And he says, first of all, darling, you don't know anything about me. Killing doesn't take any skill, but if you can sneak up on a doe and touch it, that's what I'm out to do. I'm just going to go out and touch animals, which was a little weird, but it sort of showed some depth to his character.
So this is a cool reference. So I didn't get this reference when I watched Wolverine and the X-Men, which is a show that came after X-Men Evolution.
Yeah.
Not my favorite. I still like X-Men Evolution more than Wolverine and the X-Men. But in that thing where they basically did Wolverine sneaks up on a deer, and he basically touches it. And And that was a cool moment. I didn't understand that was a reference. Now that you mentioned it, it's a very cool reference.
Yeah. So he goes to the woods and he's hunting his deer, and then Alpha Flight comes and tries to capture him, and the X-Men intervene, of course, and Wolverine declares himself, no longer part of the Alpha Flight program, and now he's an X-Men. And
Ha! We showed him! We are the X-Men!
If you can only have like 3 favorite X-Men character, who would they be, and what is the reason?
3 favorite X-Men's. X-Men.
3, only 3.
X-Men.
You only get 3.
3 favorite X-Men.
I can go first if you want, like before.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
So my favorite has to be, especially from the X-Men Evolution show, is Kitty Pryde. Found her very cute. Found her character as well very cute. As a kid, she was great.
Okay, I see the problem. It's about to get totally hot around here.
Second would be Wolverine, even though he was not much in it, but I think overall the movies and even in X-Men Evolution show, he was so cool. He was a cool guy. Third one, I would have to go with. I have to go with Spike.
Been expecting you. You gotta be sharp if you're gonna mess with the Spike.
He was a kind of a troubled teenager, getting into trouble. He was also kind of slacking off.
I asked for a report on the Star Wars program. However, I wasn't talking about the movie.
But I like movies.
Which is fine. But I was expecting a report on the National Space Defense System.
He also had some anger issues, and Wolverine kind of became kind of the guy who he vibes with because, hey, a troubled kid with anger issues, I can relate.
You can, yeah.
Not too shabby, Porcupine.
Even though they didn't have like huge moments, they had a brief. I think Wolverine became a dad figure in X-Men Evolution, or the mentor dad figure, which I really like. He wasn't going for Jean. That's a very good thing because Jean was a high school student. Even like if you think about the old X-Men, Wolverine is like caveman years old. So
that's true.
Just leave them be. So I like the fact that he was a father figure to most of them, and Spike was like, you kind of get like a younger version of Wolverine.
Bub, I'll be honest with you. In your place, at your age, I'd be doing exactly the same thing.
Kind of like the same powers with Spikes and everything. He goes to a different arc later. Kitty, I found her sweet, and she also had a connection with Wolverine.
Twerp. No, I could never hurt you.
Yeah, I have to go them as my top 3 favorite characters, but I like the other characters from the show as well.
Yeah.
So what about you?
I'm going to start off with Professor X. Simply because he tried. None of them will be there without Professor X.
True.
I like the intellect. I like the drive to make the world a better place, and I like I can really relate to that. No matter how hard you try and how good your intentions are, almost always people are going to try and screw you over, and they're going to try and keep you from doing the good works that you want to do. I've had that in my life recently.
So this is what becomes of us. Eric was right. Humanity does this to us.
Not if we show them a better path.
You still believe?
Just because someone stumbles, loses their way, it doesn't mean they're lost forever. Sometimes we all need a little help.
Professor X is my number 1 choice. Number 2, I think, would be Nightcrawler. because he's got some Spider-Man powers there. Spider-Man's my absolute favorite. So he can walk, he can crawl on walls, which he almost never does anymore.
He does in the cartoon shows.
Yeah. Yeah. He can crawl on walls. He can hide in the shadows. He can teleport, which is an amazing power. Don't think too much about it from a physics point of view, though. And I like the swashbuckler part of his personality. That's something that I wish I was more like. That's something when I do improv, I get to be a little bit like Mr. Wagner.
So he used to be like on guard, that kind of guy.
Yeah. There's a whole you like Kitty. There's an issue of the X-Men. It was right before or maybe it was a fill-in issue by Cockrum, where so Ilyana Magic now was not always 20-something evil sorceress who just happens to not be evil most of the time. She was a little girl. She was Colossus's little sister. And for some reason, they brought her from Russia, and she was living at the X Mansion with Colossus. And one night, Kitty reads her a bedtime story, and it is about Kurt. It's about the swashbuckling Nightcrawler. But yeah, and it's one of the cutest, most wonderful little wholesome stories ever, because it's just I don't think there's any bad guys or anything other than in the story that Kitty's reading, and it shows the beginnings of Kitty and Ilyana's friendship. Before Ilyana was trapped in limbo and lived there for 20 years and became a demon. Blah, 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 blah. Okay.
So I think Kurt's probably the one who doesn't have a very true or a movie or an animation good representation, because I would think in the 97 show he was more like he was like a very religious Catholic guy who hides around in the church. I think that was the thing in 1997.
God does not give up on his children, human or mutant. He is there for us in our times of joy and to help us when we are in pain. If we let him.
Don't give me that easy answer garbage.
And in X-Men Evolution, he wasn't religious. He was more of the party-loving dude, but like very sad because like he had to hide his whole appearance in school.
They made too big in the, I think it was X2, X-Men Unite. I don't remember which X-Men movie it was. But they had him there. He was I can't remember who. Alan Cumming played him, and they made a big deal of the fact that he was super religious and he had all these he was scarring himself to his penance for looking like a demon. It's like that's too far the other way.
Did you do these yourself?
Yes.
Nightcrawler's a happy-go-lucky, fun-loving guy. And he likes the ladies, and the ladies like him because he can hang from the ceiling, and he's blue and he's fuzzy.
Suppose somebody gets too close to Kurt. That hollow projector won't stop them from feeling his fur.
Hey, chicks dig the Fozzie dude.
The thing is, like, everyone shipped Kitty and Nightcrawler in that show, even though, like, they both don't have like, they do have, like, a lot of chemistry together, but, like, Kitty's interested in Avalanche, which is the bad guy.
Lance, would you go to the dance with me?
I'll have to think about it.
Oh, okay. I understand. Let me know.
Hey, Kitty, I thought about it, and the answer is yes. All right!
But, like, they shipped them hard in that show.
Yeah.
Kurt, in your dreams.
All in the holiday spirit.
Kurt, knock it off. No.
He wasn't beloved by the ladies. There was one girl who liked him a lot, and even she knew that he was blue.
Did you know that blue is my favorite color?
So, I know a good shortcut to the ice cream shop.
But he was certainly an enjoyable dude that just, like, hangs around with a lot of people, and there's a lot of fun. He was the goofball of the show.
Yeah, in the comics early on, they gave him what they called an image inducer, which was a holographic device that he carried around with him that was made by Tony Stark.
Oh, yeah.
And he used it to look like Errol Flynn, I think.
Wow, so, I didn't know it was made by Tony Stark. Professor Xavier should have dropped that bomb on X-Men Evolution.
Yeah. So who knows?
So,
but yeah, in the early books, he used to go. Yeah, it was like a little thing. He would turn it on and turn it off.
in this
They
in this
never.
thing, like in this show, he messes with it a lot,
Yeah,
and he tries to give him a bodybuilder image.
yeah.
I've been working out. Can you tell? Oh, bummer.
You shouldn't be messing with your image inducer, Kurt.
And then he messed it up so bad, and like started giving him like alternate looks.
Dude, you really gotta lay off those burger bombs.
He made his head big, and then made him fat, and then he turned him into a lady. So it was a whole funny act that's going on. So Professor Xavier and also
Nightcrawler, and a third one. Oh, let's say, I'll go with Kitty as well. Okay, so the reason I think Kitty was brought into the book from an editorial standpoint was because you started off the X-Men, they were a bunch of teens. When Stan and Jack invented them back in the 60s, they were all teenagers, and they had all gotten older. Comic books are perpetually, 5 years from when they started. So they're all in their mid-20s at this point. They needed somebody for the kids, for the teens to relate to. And Chris Claremont is very, very well known for being able to write women supposedly very well. I don't know how that would hold up today, but at the time he was considered to be a real advocate for women's rights, women's lib, all that stuff, equality, and things we don't care about anymore. Oh God. So Kitty was brought in to be sort of the representation of the reader, the audience that they were trying to get.
So, like I said this morning, it's just been another normal day here at the Xavier Institute.
And Kitty had some of the best stories in those early books that she was in. There was a story where she was left alone in the mansion right after she joined, and some mystical artifact comes to life, and it spits out this thing that looks a lot like a xenomorph from Alien, and it chases her through the mansion and destroys the mansion, and she just barely manages. Well, I won't tell you.
Spoilers.
I don't remember what issue that is, but it's a Byrne. Byrne did the art on it. And, after that one, I really was a big fan of Kitty. And I think, notwithstanding what Joss Whedon did to her and Colossus during his run in Astonishing X-Men, where he trapped her in that bullet. Good God, what a moron.
Josh Whedon? I feel like
Joss, okay, so
I thought confused with the Justice. Is the Justice League director? Is Justice League director?
Joss Whedon, the gentleman that created Buffy the Vampire Slayer, screwed over the Justice League movie, did a great job in the first Avengers and a so-so job on Age of Ultron. He wrote I think it was a 24 issue run of an X-Men comic that they created just for him. It's called Astonishing X-Men. It's very good, except for the end where he traps Kitty in a giant bullet, traveling through space forever. And a highlight of that, there's more good character development for Wolverine. Kitty and Peter Colossus finally get together as a couple in that. They're very funny, but the artist on that is John Cassaday, who is amazing, just an amazing artist. I highly recommend that you seek out his work, especially that and a series from DC or from Wildstorm called Planetary. It's by Warren Ellis and John Cassaday. Just an amazing book.
Again, this shows like how knowledgeable you are in geekdom.
Well, it's just how bored I've been, I guess. I just read a bunch of comic books.
I gotta do something with all this trivia.
So those are your three favorite characters. 2 points for Kitty. You and we both like her, so she gets she. And also, you didn't like Wolverine, so okay. Wolverine's the 1 point, but Kitty's like the dominant now, so she's the winner.
I would also say Storm. If I had a fourth choice, it would be Storm, because she really very powerful character, very noble, very the stuff that Claremont put her through should also be a crime. But he's been putting women, on the one hand, he writes women very well, but he also he puts them through hell. What he did to Carol Danvers was awful. He had Rogue steal her powers.
Oh,
yeah, that's where Rogue got most of her power. She was in the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. She was working for Mystique, and they attacked the Avengers for some reason, or the Avengers tried to stop them from doing something, and Rogue grabbed her. She was in her Miss Marvel persona at the time. She grabbed her and she held on too long. So she took all of her powers, all of her memories, all of her, a big chunk of her personality. So Rogue had issues with that for years and years and years. And Carol was just powerless.
What are you doing? Mama, something's wrong. I want to let go. No, hold on. No matter what. But something's happening, Mama. I'm scared.
So, yeah, if you would add a fourth character, that would be Storm. I think Storm is actually the aunt of Spike from in X-Men Evolution.
Some game, huh? It's tight that you showed.
And miss my favorite nephew's big game? Not a chance.
So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Since she was an orphan in Africa.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. Oh, yeah. In this one, like she was like a queen in Africa. Like she was like a queen to a tribe or something.
In the, you know what? Let me back that up just a tad. In the comics, she was an orphan on the streets of Cairo, and I think her parents were American. I think they either were killed in Cairo or they lost her or whatever. But she had a run-in with the Shadow King at some point, and then she left Cairo and went to another part of Africa where she became she was treated as a goddess because she could control the weather, and that's where Xavier found her. She was in this African village, and she was controlling the weather, and he comes up and says, how would you like to leave this? How would you like to leave all these people and come help me, a white guy?
I would say like that was the point. That was the arc that they did. Again, Storm and Wolverine and Charles were not like the big thing in the X-Men Evolution, so it was about the kids. So they had more time. But like whenever the arc that they did is that like because she left Africa and now she's here. There's another guy who was a voodoo guy. He was overthrown when they started worshiping Storm because like she brought the rain, so they were happy about it. And then he's like, I'm going to get her back, and I'm gonna make her, my mind control puppet, and I'm gonna bring her back to Africa.
The power of the Wind Rider belongs to us. The baton to drag. We will claim her once again, and Africa will be mine.
And that was the whole episode there, but that was a very dark, scary episode they left for Storm. And so far, Storm has been this like strong person. Like she's like like older figure, so she's much more refined. She doesn't worry about a lot. In this one, like they did put her to a claustrophobic hell. Because that was a big thing that they always do with her.
Yeah. She that was a thing. A character developed. Yeah, Claremont gave her claustrophobia.
Evan, get me out of here!
There was an arc where Magneto captured them all, and sort of reverted them back to children as repayment for the fact that he had been devolved into a baby. And had to this was in the Defenders comic book.
It reminds me of Mortal Kombat Babality.
I'm not familiar with that one, but
Cyrax wins. Babality.
So Magneto had been turned into a baby, and he was mad that the X-Men didn't help him, so he turned all them into babies somehow. It was what that consisted of was he puts like a neural clamp at the base of their neck so they can't do anything, they can't talk, they can't do anything, and he puts them in chairs, and he has a robot called Nanny feeding them and cleaning them and all this other stuff at the heart of a volcano. God. It's awesome. Absolutely an awesome arc. And that's when we find out that Storm is claustrophobic, because it starts to really get to her being trapped in this chair.
I got you. Can you get me out of the chair? Yeah. Get me out of the chair.
You're right.
Now
go ahead.
They're doing a new show, like they're continuing the 1997 show. So
right.
What are your thoughts on it, and what are your expectations?
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I never really watched the old 97 cartoon. I did watch X-Men Evolution.
I did watch X-Men Evolution. That's the best one.
Yeah, that was a really, really good show. But I did not really watch the old 97 show. I was aware of it, of course, because of the theme song was everywhere. And it came on. Yeah, it came on right before The Tick, I think, which I loved. The Tick was a great show. Another one to look up if you've got the time. But it seems like it's going to be a very nice continuation with a more modern sensibility. The fact that, at least according to the preview, they're killing off Xavier and leaving him dead.
We'll see.
Fun fact: Xavier died.
We'll see this. We'll see.
Xavier dies a bunch in the comic books. He dies a bunch, especially before the all new, all different X-Men. He dies a bunch. One time, okay, so you know what? Now that I think of it, I do remember a time I was with my mother at the hairdresser, and next door there was a drugstore, and I bought an X-Men comic, and it was right after Professor X had died, and they were dealing with that. This was like the original run in the early 70s. And but it turned out that Professor X that had died was another mutant that Xavier had hired to take his place while he went off and did some other crap. So it was a fake out, and he wasn't really dead. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
The Frog King is dead. Put your hat back on, fool.
My expectation, again, I've seen the 99.7 show. Not a big, again, I prefer X-Men Evolution more than that. The animation is still weird to me for some reason. I don't know why. It feels like it merged something. And
you mean X-Men 97? The reason that it feels weird is because it's crap.
It's bad? It's very bad.
No, the new one kind of has a feeling where it's weird. Like I knew the old one was limited by that time.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to redo that. They're trying to. I mean, it looks so much like the original one, and I think that's.
And an added filter. That's what I'm trying to say. There was like a weird added filter on it, which makes me a little bit like, something doesn't feel right to me when I look at the animation. That's my only critique.
That's. But the original show was, this superhero stuff didn't really take off until. Well, until the first Spider-Man movie. I mean, we had the Batman movies, the Tim Burton Batman movies, which were great. But the first Spider-Man movie, and especially the second Spider-Man movie, really showed that the public had a real appetite for this stuff. And then the X-Men, those were all kind of like in the same 5-year time period. And so, X-Men, they're the most popular comic book in the world, but we're going to give it to Funimation. It was the worst animation studio in existence, with the possible exception of. Who the hell? No, Hanna-Barbera. I'm sorry. Hanna-Barbera was the worst animation studio in the world.
I admit, I did not see that coming.
Oh no, you can't blame Scooby-Doo.
Well, Scooby-Doo was okay. So let's talk about Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo was awesome.
Yeah.
When it was what Scooby-Doo was originally, whereas a bunch of kids finding out that people are basically shit.
Yeah.
Look, Sam, the simple fact is monsters are nothing more than crooks in masks, usually unscrupulous real estate developers.
There are no ghosts. There is no supernatural. It's always some old white guy who wants more money.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And that's how life is, kids. That's exactly how life is. If somebody's selling you something supernatural, it's just white people that want your money. But now, you got Scooby-Doo, you got actual, they're real zombies. Ooh.
That was only Zombie Island. I think Zombie Island and Witch's Ghost are the only ones that did that.
That is a betrayal of the concept of Scooby-Doo, which is teaching kids to think for themselves.
I would agree with you at 100%. Like, that was the thing. Like, for a kid's show, like Scooby-Doo was like way educational. Like, even for young kids, like, oh yeah, ghosts are fake. They're just lying.
Yeah.
But I do have a soft spot for those two movies, and also the 2000 movies. But like, mainly, I grew up on the What's New Scooby-Doo series, and in that they never did the supernatural thing. It's always a guy in a mask. Yeah. They stuck to that. But occasionally when they go the supernatural, it doesn't bother me as much. But it's best if they have a supernatural element and also a guy in a costume. They have sometimes both in them.
No, absolutely not. I protest.
It's lewd, lascivious, salacious, outrageous.
Well, anyway, Hanna-Barbera sucks. Let's say, of course, Hanna-Barbera really leaned into that once they got involved with Cartoon Network, and Cartoon Network bought all their IP. Like Harvey Birdman, such a great show. They really, they had that whole stable of Hanna-Barbera characters that they could use as clients for Harvey Birdman, attorney at law. And they leaned into the really bad artwork and animation in a good way. They made it work. But anyway, back to the X-Men. Yes.
So your thoughts? What's your expectations, at least? What are your expectations?
I expect that fanboys will be very happy. I expect that people will be very happy until they're not, because it is a very fickle fandom. It's a lot of people my age that are set in their ways, and I'm shocked that there isn't more outrage that they had to recast 2 voice actors because those people had died. Why couldn't they just AI their voices? No, just don't be stupid.
Don't do AI the voice. Just hire new voice actors who does impression.
Don't do that. Or just have the character come out of the steam room and go, oh, well, that's better. I never thought I'd get that out of my throat.
Hey, my voice just changed.
They did that to Leonardo when Seth Green replaced the previous voice actor. Basically, they beat him up. And then his throat was like so damaged he became Seth Green. And it works because Seth Green has
that's funny.
So, why does he sound different? He sustained damage to his throat, and pretty much everywhere else for that matter.
I like what they did. I like the new voices on Rick and Morty. I think they're doing an excellent job. But I like what they did on Solar Opposites, where they shot the guy with a gun for some reason, and it hit him in the throat, and he said, "This is how I talk now. Don't think too much about it. This is it. I'm not gonna try and fix it. I could fix it, but I'm not going to."
With
that was very fun.
I do understand some things. Again, if they did reboot of the X-Men Evolution, I would be very worried because sometimes Marvel screws up bad. So yeah. I would be very worried, but I can understand something, but I will also sometimes be angry at some of the changes.
When I was a kid, cartoons seemed to go on forever. They never got canceled. They never ended. And so as I was getting older, I would watch a cartoon like X-Men Evolution. I really enjoy it. And then, it's gone.
I can't wait to catch up on the Lunicorns. There must be hundreds of episodes waiting. Oh, boy.
Private, the Lunicorns were canceled.
Cancelled?
Like 2 days after you left.
Why? Did you not see what Apocalypse was about to do? Why would you cancel it there? Why would you cancel it there? God, that was so annoying.
So you didn't finish the Apocalypse arc?
There was a finish?
There was a finish. I think maybe
Oh
it
my
came
God.
out later. But I only had
Okay.
2 episodes or stuff like that. But that's it. That's it.
Okay. Well, I need to look that up. Maybe it's on Disney Plus.
3 seasons, and the 3rd season is where they finish the Apocalypse show and they like close it. But
Okay.
but, Wolverine and the X-Men is the only one who had 1 season, and at the end of the season they show Apocalypse, but then that's it. We didn't get a season 2.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But no, I think it'll be good if they do. The best thing about like the live action MCU stuff is they have 60, almost 70 years worth of stories to pull from now. And you get old farts like me that complain, oh, it's not exactly like the comic books. I don't want it to be exactly like the comic books because there's a lot of really stupid stuff in the comic books. But if you can pick out that one good thing and that other one good thing and that other one good thing and remix it into something good that works for today, then yeah, do that. And if they can do that with the huge amount of X-Men material that they have now, because since X-Men 97, stopped back in 97 or 99 or whatever it was, there've been like 3, 4, 5,000 issues of the X-Men published, and that's a conservative estimate, probably more, because there were like 10 books a month at one point, and it's just insane. They've got and a lot of it was crap. Let's be completely honest. Rob Liefeld, you're so bad at everything you do, Rob Liefeld. So bad. Can't write, you can't draw. You create Deadpool one time, you get lucky one time. That's enough. That's enough. That's all we require. But other than that, you're awful.
Speaking of Deadpool, I do have to touch on that as well because like Deadpool, he's not he's more related to X-Men than anything else, I would say. So like the next Deadpool movie, which is also a joint movie with Wolverine and some other X-Men.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that, and what are your expectations about that one?
I loved the first 2 Deadpool movies. I thought they were great. I was surprised that they got Deadpool 2 out so quickly. And it was so good. I didn't expect much. Ryan Reynolds has shown that he really he understands the character and what makes it good. I think Hugh Jackman is a great Wolverine. I think the movie Logan was absolutely fantastic. That was a really good movie. It was a good send-off for him and Professor X. I think Daphne Keane was a great X-23 or Laura, whatever they were calling her. And she's great in Golden Compass on HBO, by the way. She's really good in that. That's a favorite of my wife's. She really likes that show. My expectation is that it will be exactly what it needs to be. If that makes any sense. I think bringing in the TVA is a good thing because I mean they set that up in Loki really well. If you haven't seen the Loki series, you probably don't have to watch this movie, but it's worth watching. Loki, both seasons of Loki are excellent. Tom Hiddleston is just great as usual. Yeah, but bringing in the TVA to tie all this stuff together makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think it's going to be. My expectations are I'm going to laugh, I'm going to cry, I'm going to laugh even harder at all the fanboys that are pissed off by something stupid, and I think Ryan Reynolds will make bank. I don't know that it'll save the MCU. I don't know that the MCU needs saving. I don't think there was all that much wrong. The Marvels was a great movie. Echo was fantastic.
I think it's too much. That's the problem with MCU right now. If they just shut up and go away for a while and they just come
I don't
back,
disagree with that.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
would
disagree
be
with
good.
that.
I think they're just too out there right now. And yeah, the problem is their world building is shit now. That's the main problem. I would say that they just constantly break their own rules more than once. And it pays a lot.
That's comic books, baby.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I think like David also from Extreme Improv also has a lot of problems like that. Like if you
Yeah.
do a lot of wacky things, the audience is gonna catch on.
Yeah.
That will
Well,
hurt them.
yeah, no, I think the biggest mistake the MCU made in a movie in the last 3 years was they did not recast Black Panther. They let the grief, which was, I mean, it was a tragic loss. The man was a fantastic actor, but they let their grief override the story that needed to be told. And it just wasn't as good a movie as it could have been. If they had just, dedicated to him, recast it,
Will
move
Smith.
forward with what you were doing before. What?
Will Smith.
Yeah, I mean, I like it's comic book accurate that Shuri becomes the Black Panther. It's comic book accurate that T'Challa dies once in a while, but this
It was
T'Challa
too
ain't coming
soon.
back.
It was too soon.
It was too
like,
soon.
Yeah.
This T'Challa's not coming back, and the fact that they shoehorned in, an illegitimate child there at the end, whose name is also T'Challa. Ooh, and now he's going to get shot off into space and age or some shit like that. I don't know.
Although I would say like if Deadpool comes up and like I think the only way you could fix the MCU is like if we like start stripping timelines. But
well, that's the whole point of the Secret Wars coming up. That's what.
If that happens, this like if Deadpool just goes, you know what, you're boring now. I'm just like striping most of the characters off the block. I would enjoy that movie a lot. It would be mean, but I would enjoy it because like it is a Deadpool thing.
Yeah.
My issue, like I still haven't seen like okay, from the clips that I've seen, not digging the Wolverine costume.
It looks stupid.
I know it's wacky.
The most
I know it's meant to be fun.
The most comic accurate Wolverine costume yet.
Still, I mean, like for Hugh Jackman, I feel like that. I thought that they would do something a little bit, at least modernizing it, of course, so it would suit better. But it didn't.
My favorite Wolverine costume is from the early all new, all different X-Men run when Dave Cockrum was still doing the art. They go to the Shi'ar galaxy, the Shi'ar Empire. So Xavier has this mind link with an alien princess named Lilandra, and she arrives on Earth and they have sex. She's a bird person. Hell, I don't know. It's weird. It's comic books, kids. And so she's being chased. She's been deposed from her throne, and so she's being chased by the people that overthrew her, which is her sister, who goes by the catchy name of Deathbird, I think. So they go back to the Shi'ar Empire, and that's where we meet the Imperial Guard, who are basically just ripoffs of the Legion of Superheroes. Okay. You've got a big guy, you've got a Superman analog, you've got a duplicate girl, you've got a bouncing guy, you got all the. They're literally person for person at this point in time, ripoffs of the Legion of Superheroes. So there's a character who's a Timberwolf ripoff, which Timberwolf is the feral fighter guy, hand to hand, and he's got this amazing brown and black outfit with a necklace of teeth around it, and so Wolverine kills him.
I killed him, Brian.
He just kills him. Somebody had blown Wolverine's costume off, and so Wolverine just sees this guy and apparently just kills him off panel. And the next time you see Wolverine, he's in this guy's outfit, and it's great. It's an absolutely great outfit. I highly.
How is
recommend
he the same size? Wolverine's like 5'3".
Comic books, baby.
Oh, that's your excuse for everything.
Comic books. That's everything. Comic books. That's how it happens.
Think the X-Men Evolution design is like he has orange and black. That was the thing that they did, but it was much more sleeker.
That actually is sort of a evolution, no pun intended, of that original Timberwolf like costume. But I highly recommend you look it up.
The teeth thing they did is for Sabretooth. They added the teeth for Sabretooth that you mentioned. In '97, like you can see Sabretooth with like a teeth necklace or like some part of his costume.
Well, there's an old saying that good artists create, great artists steal. So, these comic books, they steal from each other and they steal from themselves. It's comic books.
Yeah,
It's
sometimes
IP
you have to
theft,
stand
baby.
on the shoulders of giants. Sometimes.
That's right. You're standing on the shoulders of giants.
So,
So,
though, okay, this is going to be the big question.
okay.
What sets X-Men apart from the Avengers, from the Justice League, from all of this superhero shenanigans that goes on? What makes them special?
It's the fact that it is at its heart, it's a moral story about how humans are inhuman to other humans. That's it. That's it. That's what Stan Lee intended when he created it. I know there's a huge number of idiots on Twitter and X or whatever you want to call it. Let's just say on the internet. There's a huge number of idiots that have.
Someone coined that phrase, "dead bird site." I forgot who did it, but I heard someone say it's the dead bird site.
Dead bird site. There's a huge number of idiots that are complaining recently that the X-Men have gone woke. Which, for those of you, if you're not in America, what that means is the X-Men have empathy towards people, and they care about other people. That's what. Well, never mind. Anyway. The X-Men has always been woke. It has always been a progressive book. It has always been about being kind to other people. It has always been about seeing people for what makes them special as opposed to what makes them different, and how what makes them different typically is what makes them special. And that's what sets it apart. The Justice League are gods. They just are. Wonder Woman is the goddess of love. Literally, they made her the goddess of love a couple of years back. Superman is the god of everything. Batman is the god of stealth. Flash is the god of speed. Green Lantern is the god of
imagination,
being full of shit. Yeah, oh, sure, imagination. The Avengers are just. I don't know what's up with the Avengers, quite frankly. They're police. The Avengers are the police. Let's be honest.
Although I've heard this meme I think this is true when they say the Justice League are more gods trying to be human, and Avengers are humans trying to be gods. Like I've seen a meme where they're like Thor and Batman going like, yeah, sure. When he said like, yeah, this is humans trying to be gods, and Thor's like, sure. And then Batman's like, gods trying to be human. Sure.
Well, they put so much plot armor on Batman.
Yeah.
That guy, I don't care how much money you have, that guy's dead. 2 years into it, he's dead. He's street pizza. Because you got the thing that shoots your grappling hook. That's going to fail. What's your failure rate on that, Bruce?
You would love the recent short that I made. I would send it to you after this one. It's kind of like this. It emphasizes this point that you just mentioned.
Yeah. You can't, Iron Man is not much more believable. Iron Man doesn't work without the MacGuffin of the
tank armor.
Reactor.
Technically, he's wearing a tank. That's his excuse.
Yeah, he's wearing a tank. And I don't know if you've seen video coming out of Ukraine, but tanks can get blowed up.
Yeah, that is true.
They can get blowed up pretty damn easy if you've got the right ammunition.
But at least it's not fatal as the human body. That's what I'll say.
Exactly, and just think of all the and even so, there's a human inside that tank. And if in the Iron Man thing, how much clearance do you have, between your flesh and the metal?
Not enough.
How much padding is in there? Unless you've got yourself some Starfleet issue inertial dampers, you're boned.
I think one hit from like Thor or Hulk just like slapping him is like he's giving him concussion. Anyways, so I like the point that you mentioned. Like X-Men has always been a progressive show. Even like Evolution, this deserves its own SWAT episode, but I'm going to mention this anyway. On X-Men Evolution, the whole thing is like people didn't know about mutants in that show for majority. at one point they do know that they're mutants, and again, people being bad towards people who are different. When they this is happening when they're kids and they're high school. And Professor Xavier calls the school meeting because they were going to ban the mutants from school. That was Kelly, who became the principal, was about to do that. And Xavier calls the parent-teacher conference meeting where he was going to make the case, and they make Jean make the case. And it has the best speech about inclusivity and diversity, even without mentioning any names about who they're trying to represent or anything like that. I would put the clip in this.
Now, most of you have children, and you love them for who they are, not for what they can or can't do. There is a chance that one of them will have an advanced X gene, and as they grow older, they will be considered mutants. You will love them anyway, but people will hate them, and people will want to hurt them. You will hope for the day when your child can live in a safe world. Well, that world must begin now, with you, by allowing mutants to attend public school. Thank you.
So that was the amazing case that they made, and it just blew my mind. And I do agree. It's always been about empathy, and it does lead into more serious topics than other superhero stuff. So I think I think that's what, like you said, is what sets them apart from other superheroes, and that's why it's special.
Yeah, I agree. Now, if they would just cut it down to maybe 2 books a month, then it could be really special.
It's too much. It's too much.
So that's our X-Men talk.
Yeah.
You dropped in a lot of references. I think the audience is going to love it. Just oh no, what is that? We never heard of that.
Well, you wanted a recommendation, yeah?
Yes. So what is your best recommendation of X-Men media?
My recommendation is to get you a subscription to the Marvel Unlimited app, because it's not a great app. It tends to forget your login credentials every couple of months. So be sure you write those down or use a password vault. But there is so much stuff on there, so much stuff. And they have pretty much everything X-Men. And like I say, it used to be, a book comes out and then 6 months later it's on the app. But now with the pandemic, there was a big lull in putting out books. So now it's 3 months. So I think it's 3 months. So a book comes out today, 3 months from today, it's going to be on the app. And if you can keep yourself from, reading all the comic book boards with spoilers and stuff like that, then you're going to enjoy having the app, because you can go back and you can research. You can find all these characters. You can see all these story arcs that I've been talking about. You can see all these different things. And just remember that when you're reading a book from 1974, some of the social mores are a little different. Some of the slang is a little different. There's one point, it's an Avengers book where Iron Man says to Captain America, "You need some straight dick." Language. Which at the time meant, you need somebody to set you straight and tell you the truth, Cap.
Right now, it's a whole other...
It's a whole different thing now. It's a whole different thing now. But yeah, that's my recommendation. The Marvel Unlimited app. It's really a great resource. And you can go back and you can read all these stories, like the Infinity War, the whole Thanos thing, Jim Starlin, Warlock, all that stuff. The comics are so much better, so much better than. And the movie, I love the movie. I love what they did. I still think it was a cop out to make Thanos an eco-terrorist, as opposed to just making him absolutely batshit crazy and actually be in love with the physical personification of death, like he was.
That would have been so much fun. That would have been so much
fun.
Oh
my God. I mean, they hinted at it at the end of the first Avengers, when the guy comes up and he's talking to Thanos and he says something along the lines of to mess with this planet is to court death. And Thanos turns around and just has this big smile, like, yeah, okay, court death. I banged her last week. Let's go.
I think they might do a reference on Deadpool. I think she's also part of Deadpool's story arc. So
she is. So that's an interesting thing too. So Death will never talk to Thanos. And that is in the comics, and that is a constant source of irritation to him. She will not, he loves her, he professes his love. He got rid of half the universe for this lady, and she won't even speak to him. The only way she'll speak to him is through one of her zombie spokespeople. But Deadpool, she talks to him all the time. She talks to him in front of Thanos, which really just sets Thanos off. So, women.
Dad, my girl, omnipotent, otherworldly, hot. She totally wants me, and I understand that because I totally want me too. We met during some of my near-death experiences. We can't be together until I die, but I can't die.
My recommendation for X-Men is that I cannot recommend the cartoon series X-Men Evolution enough. I would also recommend Wolverine and the X-Men, but you only get one season, but at least the story arc in that season does end. It's much more depressing than X-Men Evolution. X-Men Evolution at start it's a fun show. It has all these good, it does go into deep emotional stuff, but it doesn't stay on for long because it's kind of like a high school thing. So it's kind of a feel-good thing. It's early 2000s all over its place, best of the music and stuff and everything like that, and go the road. With Wolverine and the X-Men, it has a lot of comic references, from Wolverine like touching the deer to the story arc that you mentioned for Storm with Shadow Man. That's also in that as well. So I think they do have like hardcore comics references, and I think you'll get a kick out of it. So I recommend that as well. And yeah, that's it. That's our X-Men talk. Thank you, Diz, for joining us. So where can the people find you, Diz?
Let's see. I occasionally do things with Extreme Improv over there on the Extreme channel. I am building my own little social media empire over on TikTok and YouTube. Look for Steven Diz 3000 or just Steven Diz or Steven Dizbro. And yeah, just go over there, hit the like button and subscribe. And I'm putting out videos as often as I can. And I'm going to be touring, doing improv around the country and hopefully the world here in the coming months and years. So just look for me. I'll probably advertise that on Extreme whenever I get a chance.
So do check out all of this sling. Again, if you like to laugh, he has a lot of TikTok stuff that makes you laugh. And occasional geek stuff as well. He does talk about geek stuff as well, so you'll enjoy that as well. I would put all of the links of this in the description, so go check him out, show him some love. And yeah. So that's all, folks. He's now become the Shadow Man because of
no, it's trying to put. I'm doing this, so it's trying to put fireworks behind me because that's the hellscape we live in now.
That's your mutation.
That's my mutation. I can't.
The end.
Do a heart.